Hey, it's Rebecca. Welcome to Returning, a podcast to return to yourself and the wisdom within. I'm so glad you're here with me. Thanks for returning. Today, I am sharing 5 tips that really helped me gather up the courage to finally quit my day job and follow my true calling. I know what it feels like to feel stuck in that in-between place, maybe deep down, knowing that the career or life that we're living just isn't in alignment anymore, and how much courage it really does take an effort to leap into something new. I know that I spent such a long time in that state, and looking back, I can really see how these 5 things, which I'm sharing with you today, really helped. So my intention is that it might save you a lot of heartache and time through me sharing them. And at the end of this episode, as always, you'll find a guided soul inquiry for you to explore what is rising within you in this episode. I know how precious your time is, so let's jump right into sacred space together now. In the center of your heart, imagine a beautiful flower. And with your breath, invite it to open petal by petal, revealing a light in the middle. This light is your ancient self, the part of you that is always calling you, that is wise beyond your years. Invite it to step forward now, and together acknowledging the keepers and custodians of the land, where you are, where I am, known and unknown. Beautiful, let's begin. Today, I want to share 5 things that really helped prepare me to gather the courage to quit my day job and fully step into my calling. I want to start by saying that, I think so often when people are taking the leap and quitting their day job and making such a big change in their life, or having success, it seems like it's just been one single leap or a couple of leaps that have led them there. But in my experience, definitely, and also through observing anyone that I've seen really make big changes in their life, like for example, following their calling and changing careers, it never happens in one little leap. I've got this one-liner that I have in my first book, Light is the New Black, which says, to everyone else it looked like a single leap, but in reality it was hundreds and thousands of little baby steps, and that has definitely been the case for me. So I want to share my 5 tips, the 5 things that I did that helped me the most, helped move the dial the most. And yeah, these are the things I wish I knew. Maybe if you are in that position now, you can learn and try these things and give the ones that resonate with you a go and see if they work for you too. So the first tip is a really simple one, but I think it is the most powerful one, which is like, if you know that you're being called to make a change in your life, or start a new career, or step into a new calling, or create something, I really want you to not underestimate the truth that consistent daily action is the best way to get there. So what I ended up doing, and I remember reading something at the time when I'd made a little bit of progress, but I wasn't quite gaining the momentum and speed that I had wanted to. And it all felt very overwhelming, like where I was compared to where I felt like I was being called to be. And so I committed to doing one thing every day in the direction of the change I was being called to make. And yeah, I remember the day that I figured this out, where I was like, oh gosh, yeah, if I do one little thing every day, by the end of the year, I would have done over 300 things. So of course, I'm going to build on where I'm going, and I'm going to get there quicker. And yeah, this really changed things for me, because I noticed that and I think it so often is the case, you get inspired and you take a lot of action, and then you kind of think you're not getting anywhere fast enough and you doubt yourself. Whereas when you commit to doing one little thing, and you can do more than one thing if you want, but one little thing can be something that takes 1 minute or 5 minutes even, then it's like, you're consciously, repetitively acting on the call. And eventually you will get there. And maybe it'll look a little bit different to the way you think it's going to, but every day that momentum builds and every day you act on that call, the more confident you get as well. So yeah, that is my first tip. Do one thing every day in the direction of your calling. I think it also helps us because when we're trying to build something, it's exhausting trying to like step into something new and tend to your dreams in that way, in a really practical way. And so just having the pressure alleviated once you've done your one thing every day. And your one thing might be something like to call someone who might be able to advise you, or it might be to research, or it might be to book a ticket to a workshop. Like that can be your one thing. It doesn't have to be like this big thing that you're doing. Just could take 30 seconds even. And then once you've done that one thing, then you can relax for the rest of the day. If you feel inspired to do more, great, go and do it. But know that you've done your one thing for the day. And don't burn yourself out, because like if you do your one thing, then tomorrow you can do another thing, and the next day another thing. Whereas if you burn yourself out, you might spend a couple of days full throttle and then not do anything for months. So yeah, that is the first tip that I have if you are wanting to really create a big change in your life. The second one is, oh gosh, I wish I knew this one earlier. So I think that when you're creating something new and you're doing something which is potentially quite different from maybe what other people in your life, the way that they live their life, or perhaps they're in your life and you changing might be threatening to them as well. So this tip is called create an elevator pitch, but I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So when you are creating this change in your life, whether it's like you're being called to write a book, or do a training to get a qualification to then start a business or change your careers or whatever it is, think of it like a tender little baby, and you want to protect that baby. Like if it's a creation or just a change in identity, treat it like a precious little baby, and don't just kind of like show it to everyone. You want to keep and I use this analogy a lot in the creative process. Like when you've got your new ideas, don't just kind of shout them to the world. Keep them protected and precious, and only share them with like people that you feel like, yeah, this is safe for me to share. I really recommend creating an elevator pitch for those people who you want to talk to about your change of career or new idea or creation, in a way that really does protect it and you. So here's what I did because I had this career that I'd consciously created, and whether it's like parents or people in my industry or even just friends, I started noticing as I started kind of like blurting out what my idea was and my new thoughts were around the direction I was going in and what I wanted to create and the change I wanted to create in my life as well. I started noticing that, first of all, I wasn't fully confident in it because it was something new. It's like it was completely like normal for me not to be confident in it at that point. And I started noticing that other people's reactions were actually affecting me. And so what I ended up doing, and this was in particular when I spoke to my boss at the time about my plans. And this was kind of like me giving my notice, because I went from working full-time to going to part-time to then quitting my job. So I did it in little baby steps. And I went to him just to tell him, like, kind of like begin to like give my notice. And instead of kind of like telling him, I'm quitting the whole industry, and I'm doing this work, and it's in the spiritual realm, and I'm doing soul readings and all this kind of stuff, which was just like so left field, and he wouldn't have understood it. what I ended up doing is I said to him something that I felt like he could receive without judging it, which was protecting me rather than kind of like appeasing to him. And that was what I was ready for at the time. And so what I ended up saying, and I said it to several different people, I found the truth that felt congruent. And so what I said to him was, I've had this dream within me for such a long time to write a book, and I'd been a copywriter and then creative director, so he knew me as a writer as well, which helped. So it wasn't completely left field. I didn't lead with like soul readings or Akashic records. I led with writer, which I already was, and he acknowledged me as. And I said, yeah, I've always had this dream to write a book. And I've got this little window in my life now where I just ended a relationship. He knew that that had happened, and I'd had a lot of change in my life. And so I said, I just keep getting that, like, I've got this really special window of time that I can actually embrace now. And I feel like if I don't go for it, I'm going to regret it. So I'm going to take 6 months off, and I'm going to do everything I can to write my book. And it was amazing when I would share this, and I went on and shared it with several different people. And the reaction and the feedback I got from others was so different from what I was saying before, which was the truth as well, but it was just a more detailed truth every single little bit. But framing it in this elevator pitch, like very succinctly in one sentence of like what I was doing, and that I was following a dream to write a book, and I was giving myself 6 months to do it. It was amazing. Pretty much everyone who responded would respond saying, "Oh my gosh, I've got something I'd love to do as well." And so it actually became all about them rather than me, and the courage of following your dreams. So that was such a powerful thing, because I felt encouraged rather than discouraged or judged. Versus like if I would tell other friends before I did the elevator pitch, I'd be like, I'm quitting this whole career to start this new one in this new field. And yeah, I won't have a regular paycheck and all of that. And then I started seeing like everyone's fears just projecting onto me. So that is the second tip. The third tip is to ride two surfboards for a while. So let me tell you what I mean by that. When we are in a place and we're wanting to be someplace else, we can feel so disconnected from where we're being called to. And, whether it's a change of career or a change of identity, whatever it is. I think what stops so many is they're waiting for the step-by-step plan and all the ducks to be in a row, and to be so super clear on what it is that they're doing and every single step along the way before they actually take the next step. And so what I ended up doing is, instead of just, the moment I had the idea, quitting my job and just trying to make it work, then I actually rode two surfboards for a while, and I started seeing it like that. So when I was in my day job, my normal job, I saw myself like riding the blue surfboard. And then when I'd go home and begin to write or do client sessions or work on my new business, I'd imagine myself on the yellow surfboard. And yeah, and so I separated my time like that. And, sometimes I was riding one, sometimes I was riding the other. But this visualization was really, really good. But also just, it took the pressure off having to make the new thing, the new career work instantly. It also, gave me the flexibility to kind of like take the pressure off, and not be in such a desperate rush to get clients or build the business or get the book done by a certain time. So riding two surfboards for a little while is a great thing to do. And and another way I did that was, instead of just go from cold turkey to full time to quitting my job entirely, I reduced my hours. So I went down from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days to 2 days. And then I gave myself 6 months where I'd saved up enough money where I didn't have to chase everything like new clients down. I could just focus on properly building my business. And yeah, I decided to use my savings in that way. I also moved into a share house, and I run my business from a tiny little bedroom on my laptop by my bed. Each day I'd walk to the park and do my writing there because it was such a tiny little place. And ride 2 surfboards for a while. Don't put yourself under pressure to like have it all done and ready immediately as soon as you have the idea. The other practice that I did, I love this practice, which is walking into who you are becoming. So, and I would often do this. I would walk to work and from work every day. And I'd imagine that every step I was taking was one step closer to who I was becoming. So in my case, I knew I wanted to be a published author and an entrepreneur. And so every step I took was a step closer to being a published author. So that's a wonderful practice to do. And you can do that literally anytime that you're walking. And then another tip, which is it sounds simple, but it's such a powerful one, is immerse yourself. Immerse yourself into the life that you're being called to live. Surround yourself with other people who are doing it. Surround yourself with books on the topic. Just surround yourself, saturate yourself into this new world that you want to step into. So in my case, I did many courses and trainings and went to lots of community meetups with other writers, with other people who had a similar calling. I would watch movies that were on the same topic, listen to podcasts, absolutely immersing myself into who I was becoming, the direction I was being called in. So they are my top tips that help me to quit my day job and step into my calling as easily as possible. If you have a calling that you are wanting to step into, I want to just say that it's never too late to act on the call of your soul, and that, consistency, showing up to it each and every day is really the key. So keep following what lights you up, and you will light up the world without even trying. And as my teachers taught me, all of the intuition and callings in the world are pointless unless you act on it. So just remember that thing of what looked like a single leap was in reality hundreds and thousands of little baby steps. So keep walking towards who you are being called to become, and step by step, day by day, you will get there. And all of a sudden you'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, I've actually arrived. I'm now living the vision that I have been called towards. Soul inquiry is a practice where we listen to our inner self. Today's soul inquiry prompt is: how are you being called to step more into your calling today? How are you being called to step more into your calling today? And what is one baby step you can take in that direction today? Let's share a deep breath together as we close this sacred space we've stepped into. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you'd like to keep returning to yourself or returning here with me, then hit subscribe. If you love this podcast, leaving a review or a 5-star rating really helps others to find it too. As always, you can find the show notes from today's episode over at rebeccacampbell.me/podcast. Thanks for returning.